Welcome to the Calm Analytics channel. I'm Boris Tizengausen. June 24th, here are the main news stories at this moment. We still haven't recovered from Putin's last meeting with the Russian military, where he was spouting complete nonsense, and now he's brought us a new batch of craziness. I'm going to show you a video now where Putin, using completely incoherent phrases, tries to explain to the cannon fodder that everything is going according to plan, and that he's about to defeat everyone. Pay attention to how he draws circles with his hands and just take in this stream of consciousness.
В таком массивном воздействии, когда весь Запад на них работает, в огромном потоке идут эти беспилотники, вот создать какую-то неуверенность в действиях российских вооруженных сил. А то, что на фронте, они как за скобки выносят. Ну там же долбят ребята каждый день. Каждый божий день. Долбят и придем туда, куда нужно. В том числе мы поможем.
And who do we have here? Forgot to take your pills today? Here he goes again, talking about drones coming in by the thousands to create uncertainty in the Russian army. Does he even know what drones are? What are they for? Uncertainty isn't exactly what drones create. But I wasn't lazy. I made a transcript of what he just said. You can check later by rewinding that this is exactly what he said, word for word. So here's the quote. When the entire West is working for them, these drones are coming in a huge stream to create some kind of uncertainty in the actions of the Russian armed forces. But what's happening at the front, they leave out of the equation. But the guys are getting hammered there every day. Every single day they keep pounding and pounding. And it will hit exactly where it needs to, including that. In general, it seems the patient is already incurable, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Here's another masterpiece. Here, he's barely reading from the cards, barely able to pronounce the words. Again, for him, it's all the damned NATO's fault. So, the scheme of the damned NATO is very simple. Listen.
При этом для обоснования подобных затрат и радикальной милитаризации своих государств руководители стран НАТО и Евросоюза, как и ранее, используют лживые заявления о якобы российской военной угрозе. Схема действий так называемого же демократического Запада очень проста. Вначале создают угрозы для нашей страны, вынуждают нас предпринимать действия, необходимые для самообороны и самозащиты, а затем тут же обвиняют нас во всех смертных грехах для обоснования продолжения своей агрессивной политики, своих агрессивных действий в отношении России. Даже нам хорошо все это известно, хорошо знакомо. Даже после вероломного нападения на Советский Союз 22 июня 1941 года, именно вероломного нападения, Запад, гитлеровская Германия пытались обвинить СССР и Сталина в агрессии против, как мы сегодня говорим, коллективного Запада. Удивительно.
It's amazing that you don't know anything about the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which the USSR signed with Nazi Germany on August 23, 1939. It's amazing that you don't know about the secret protocol to this pact, under which Stalin and Hitler agreed to divide Eastern Europe between themselves, including Poland. It's amazing that you don't know anything about the fact that German troops invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939, and Soviet troops on September 17th, 1939, striking from the east. It's certainly amazing that Putin is once again saying that it was NATO that provoked him to attack Ukraine, even though in the infamous video he declares, I have made the decision to begin a special military operation. What threat did Ukraine pose to the Russian Federation at the moment of the attack? What threat, you bald-headed centipede, did he say? He says the West first provoked us by creating a threat to us. What threat did the West create for you? Specifically who? France, Germany, the USA? Maybe? Who exactly created a threat for you? In general, judging by Putin's statements, NATO was basically created from the very beginning just to harm Putin. Each time he looks worse and worse, that is increasingly irrational. And I'll show you a short video as well. Please forgive me, but you really need to see this. So under what conditions is Putin now ready to negotiate with Ukraine? Here, pay attention to how he keeps scribbling and doodling something, and in the final phrase, the confidence on his face is just off the charts. Take a look.
Россия, тем не менее, как уже не раз говорилось, готова к мирным переговорам с Украиной, готова на базе договоренностей, которые достигнуты были еще в Стамбуле и, напомню, были парафированы тогда украинской делегацией. Значит, все их устраивало. Не вижу оснований отходить от этих договоренностей с нашей стороны. Но на базе договоренностей, достигнутых в Стамбуле, на базе модальностей, которые обсуждались в Анкоридже, и реалий, самое главное, реалий на земле, а также принципов, изложенных мною пару лет назад в ходе выступления в Министерстве иностранных дел. Но будем исходить из того, что есть, будем дальше двигаться уверенно по всем направлениям.
What? Based on Istanbul with the modality of Anchorage? We haven't even recovered from the spirit of Anchorage yet, and he's already talking about modality. Take the haloperidol away from the kids, seriously. He just can't say anything normally. Even Trump, who was in Anchorage, doesn't know anything about the spirit of Anchorage or the modality of Anchorage. No one knows. Just a crazy old man sitting there, scribbling something on a piece of paper, talking about some kind of spirits. You know, I'm just waiting for the moment when he'll suddenly start hitting himself. Like this, banging his head like Tony the lunatic and saying, "The moon told me we will win, Ukraine is bad, Zelensky is bad." Well, that's exactly what it looks like. By the way, friends, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You can do it right now. It's important for promoting the channel. We're fighting against Putin's propaganda, but it's much more effective to do it together. We will. So be sure to subscribe. And now some important information has come up. The Moscow Oil Refinery, which was attacked by our drones just a few days ago, these epic shots were seen by the whole world, and I showed them to you as well. The Moscow Oil Refinery has stopped operations until at least 2027. At the very least. Remember what Putin said, that drones are meant to instill uncertainty? Well, they certainly instilled it in the Moscow Oil Refinery. All the way until 2027. And I think it won't be operating for even longer than that. Let me remind you, it's the only oil refinery in Moscow which supplies 40% of the city's fuel needs, and now it can't fix the damage because of sanctions. Or maybe they just wrecked everything there so badly. And what does that mean? Now they'll use up all the reserves they have, and that's it. Muscovites have arrived, and even now they're already clearing out reserves in many regions of the Russian Federation. Just imagine what will happen when those reserves run out. And at the same time, don't forget, the remaining refineries are being knocked out and oil depots are being burned. At this point, scribbling something on a piece of paper won't help anymore. Well, it seems that even the Russians themselves have started to suspect something. After posts featuring Putin's statements on Solovyov's channel received a large number of clown reactions, the posts were deleted, and the corresponding reactions disappeared from the channel. So let me explain. On Solovyov's Telegram channel, they started posting these statements from Putin, things like, "We'll defeat everyone there," and so on. But on Telegram, there are different reactions, like likes, right? So you can give a like in the form of a heart or a fire emoji, or you can react with a clown emoji. So on the posts with Putin's statements, most of the likes were in the form of the clown emoji. So it turns out, even Russians themselves don't really believe him. Meanwhile, Ukraine is accomplishing an absolutely incredible feat. In every episode, we have an important fundraiser for Ukraine's defense forces. Today, we are continuing to raise funds for mobile command posts for our air defense forces, for the hunters of Russian Shaheds and Russian missiles, for several air defense units, and for the 152nd Jaeger Brigade. The soldiers have recorded a video message for you. Please watch it.
152 бригада і підрозділ повітряних сил України та канал Бориса Тізенгаузена починають збір на 2 командні пункти, щоб збивати шахеди над нашими містами і запускати дрони-перехоплювачі. Сума чимала, але тільки разом ми можемо дати ворогу по зубам.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Let's help our air defense forces. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. There are mono, private, and PayPal options for those who want to help from abroad. If you're watching on another channel, the QR code always leads to the fundraiser. By helping our air defense forces, you are directly saving someone's life. And in every episode, I sincerely thank you for supporting our warriors and helping Ukraine. Thank you so much. And of course, yet another round of orders from Putin in the usual style. I order the sun to rise. Putin instructed the government and the Ministry of Defense to take measures to reduce the consequences to zero of attacks by the armed forces of Ukraine on Russian oil refineries. Do you realize that he is completely out of touch with reality? I order all consequences to be reduced to zero. That's it, of course. The order has been given. Now it will be done. I order Russia's economy to become the strongest in the world. Let's have it done by 10 a.m. tomorrow. It's all the same kind of thing. Well, as for Magyar, apparently he ordered the Russian oil refineries themselves to be reduced to zero. And strangely enough, reality didn't obey Putin, nor did the Ukrainian drones. Limits on gasoline have been introduced in Russia. Do you know where? In the main oil-producing region, the Khanty-Mansi Autonomous Okrug. About 40% of all Russian oil is extracted there. So, at gas stations, it's now forbidden to sell more than 40 liters to one person at a time. And soon it will be 20, and even 10. Soon they'll be selling it by the liter. Strict restrictions have already been in effect in more than 50 regions of Russia. But what about Putin's order? Are you serious? Maybe they just haven't heard it there. In the Khanty-Mansi Autonomous Okrug, Putin completely denies the economic and military reality. History, by the way, knows rulers who, Xerxes, for example, who ordered the sea to be whipped, or to defeat sparrows, for example. There were rulers like that, or to attack with non-existent armies. Hitler did that too in his agony. In other words, detachment from reality is the beginning of the end. And in Russia, people are increasingly asking, why did we bother them? In other words, Ukraine? Why really? Why Russians? Did you even need this? Right now, the worst is only just beginning. In occupied Crimea, the situation is getting more and more grim with each passing day. Last night, the Sevastopol substation was hit. This is a key node in the power system of Sevastopol and the surrounding settlements. That is, it is precisely through this substation that electricity from the Balaklava thermal power plant is distributed. Moreover, the Sevastopol substation was hit as many as 7 times. Electricity was cut off in Sevastopol. Everything there is running on generators. I saw a couple of videos. They say everything here is running on generators. But there's a catch. Generators need fuel, and soon even generators won't help. Local authorities report that the substation went out of service due to technical malfunctions. This isn't a joke, that's the actual wording. Well, yes, the main transformer burned out. By the way, that's already confirmed. It's done for. The Sevastopol substation is one of the main power supply facilities for Sevastopol. As a Sevastopol resident, it's doubly satisfying to read news like this. The fans of the Russian world over there are already howling at the moon, at the sun, at the stars. I don't even know what else they're howling at. So how does it all work over there? The Balaklava thermal power plant, it runs on natural gas. There are 2 turbines there, Siemens by the way, that generate electricity which is supplied to the Sevastopol substation, and from there it's distributed to the city substations. So here's the thing. This is the main distribution hub, that's it. And another important point, this is about the Balaklava plant. The power plant is located right nearby, and all the surrounding hills are dotted with air defense systems, yet they allowed 7 strikes on this hub. There is a very interesting high-profile and scandalous story connected to this Balaklava power plant. It's an unpleasant story for us, but I think we'll set the record straight now. After the annexation of Crimea in the 2000s, in 2014 due to sanctions, it was forbidden to supply Western equipment to Crimea. But suddenly, in 2017, it turned out that 4 Siemens turbines somehow ended up there. And these turbines became the basis for building the Balaklava power plant and the Tavrcheskaya power plant. That is, the turbines were originally intended for Taiman in Russia. In other words, it was allowed to supply them to Russia, but not to Crimea. So the Russians just blatantly sent them to Crimea. They shipped them. Why am I telling you this? Because if the Balaklava power plant or these Siemens turbines get hit, the Russians simply won't be able to physically repair them. And they definitely will get hit. Sending my regards to the rats, traitors, and collaborators in Sevastopol. It's only going to get worse from here. The most interesting thing is that in the local chats there, people are starting to complain that their authorities have abandoned them. Can you imagine? They promise protection, but where are the air defense systems? And the Black Sea Fleet has run away. The military leadership and the heads of the security services are evacuating their families. But what about the traitors? Who's going to take care of them? Did you forget about them or what? I think right now many of those who were waving Russian flags are rushing to their hiding places to check if they still have their Ukrainian passport, just in case. Things in Crimea could happen so quickly that some people might not even have time to scrub their social media of Putin's portraits, of all this so-called special military operation, of boys in underwear, and so on. As long as the bridge is still standing, there's still a chance to slip on your slippers and run. Basically, there's no gasoline, now there's no electricity, and in some places there's already no water. No gasoline, no electricity, no water, but hang in there, assholes, not for much longer. You'll be rescued soon, but not all of you. And now, a little useful information for the traitors from Sevastopol to the Crimean Bridge. It's a 2-day and 11-hour walk, so plan your time accordingly. But that's not all. The SBU has carried out successful strikes on air defense systems and military airfields in Crimea. They hit the Saki airfield and the Fardiska airfield. 4 hangars used for storing aircraft equipment were damaged. But here, there's another important point. Near Kerch, 2 S-400 systems and 2 Panzer S-1 anti-aircraft missile and gun systems were hit. In other words, they are actively taking out air defense elements near the Kerch bridge. But that's not all. Today, gas processing and helium plants in the Orenburg region were hit, as well as the Vladimir Space Communications Center in the Vladimir region. The Vladimir Center, it's like how hair salons used to be called Angela or Vladimir, for example. So the Vladimir Space Communications Center was damaged, but strikes were carried out on the Orenburg gas processing plant and the only helium plant in Russia. They are basically one single complex. The distance is 1,200 kilometers from the front line. The Orenburg gas processing plant and the Orenburg helium plant are branches of the same LLC. They form a single large industrial complex. Why is this strike important? Because the sulfur produced by the gas processing plant is used to make explosives and black powder, and the helium plant produces components for rocket fuel. Also, by the way, the Orenburg gas processing plant is one of the largest gas chemical complexes in the world, and in general they also hit the Vladimir Space Communications Center. This center ensured the operation of satellite communication systems and deep space communications. And this is very interesting. Yesterday, our drones also struck another space communication center, Dubna, in the Moscow region. This is clearly not a coincidence. Ukraine has begun the systematic destruction of the ground segment of Russia's space infrastructure, and they are methodically taking out specifically the Western cluster, the one that maintains communications for this European part of Russia. And it provides both military command and propaganda control for the Kremlin. So, there are only 4 Western nodes in total. 2 have already been hit. Lavrov popped up here. He admitted that the negotiations in Anchorage might have been another deception by Putin. He stated that the meeting in Alaska was intended to buy time to arm Kiev. So it turns out they got fooled again. Well, this is starting to get a bit indecent, honestly. And in this case, who did the fooling? Was it Trump then? Is there anyone left in Putin's world who hasn't fooled him? There he is, sitting underground. Come on now. Azimut Airlines, a Russian company, has announced a critical situation with aviation fuel and is asking for measures to be taken. Listen, all these statements take measures from airlines, car owners, refineries, oil plants. Just take one simple measure. Give the bald cabin a tap with a snuff box, clear it out once and for all, and that's it. So, this Azimut Airlines, this is a warning sign for all Russians who are still flying. A sharp rise in prices, a reduction in the supply of aviation fuel, and according to Azimut's assessment, under current conditions, carrying out the flight program is becoming economically unfeasible, both on international routes and to an even greater extent on domestic flights. So how is this possible? Well, how? Putin has given the order. What are you worried about? Putin gave the order, so now water in the streams will turn into aviation kerosene. Everything will be fine. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking. Lukashenko has 3 days left to meet the demands of the Ukrainian ultimatum. As they say, Anushka has already spilled the oil on the frying pan, in this case to fry up some potatoes. Lukashenko himself will have to slice up this tuber into wedges. I don't know. Maybe he should either call or meet with Putin. He has disappeared from the radar. He's not posting photos, not posting about cowsheds, not posting anything. Only some written congratulations have appeared on his Telegram channel, and that's it. Where have the tubers gone, folks? Let's dig up another interesting fact. In recent days, Russian drones have not been flying along the Belarusian-Ukrainian border. Interesting. Well, today our drones also attacked the oil refinery in Kstovo, finishing it off. So soon a whole episode won't be enough to cover all the places our drones and missiles are hitting. And that's good news. I'll be glad if I end up not having enough time for a whole big episode. And today, Forbes comes out with a very interesting piece of news. In other words, this news is already everywhere. The electronics plant in Voronezh, which was recently hit by missiles, may have been destroyed by 3 new American missiles costing less than $1 million. That is, Ukraine may have used American AGM-188A missiles in the strike on this semiconductor device plant. Assembly, Forbes writes about this. A range of 460 kilometers. This makes it possible to strike a great many targets deep inside the Russian Federation. And according to Forbes, that's why I picked up this news. According to Forbes, Ukraine has ordered 3,550 such missiles. Well, that's just for starters. Go ahead and rub some brilliant green on your foreheads, you gold-toothed ones. I've said it more than once already, the worst for you is only just beginning. And as for you, friends, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, subscribe to this channel, don't forget, and let's help the fighters from our air defense forces. The link is in the description to this video. Have a peaceful day, everyone, and glory to Ukraine.